Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have essentially the first official event for the EX4 format. It is a regionals that happened in Latin America this past weekend, and I'm a little bit late on this one, but I did want to get it together, and here it is today. And real quick, big shoutouts to Latin American events for getting all the deck lists for this on their Facebook. Make sure to follow them, it's going to be in the description, as well as Eggman Events, which has all of these deck lists for you guys as well. So make sure to check that out. I've been working really hard on this website lately, so but yeah, this is going to be just a weird format. Obviously, it's EX4. It's also kind of like catty-cornered with the Ultimate Cup, which was the entirety of June. So we have like this kind of like 2-3 week format that's pretty much still BT12 after just coming back from Ultimate Cup. So it's just kind of weird in a lot of ways, but honestly it looks like a pretty good format, at least in diversity. We do have like this top 16 here, and we do have a lot of different decks. We do have 3 security controls, 3 hunters, 2 Bloomlords, 2 blue flares, 2 Ulforce, 1 BWG, 1 Guilemon, 1 Machinedramon, and 1 WagreyX. So pretty much, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different archetypes in the top 16. That's honestly pretty good and better than what we've seen in a long time. Like usually the first pie chart slice was always just like over a quarter or more. So having it just at like a 3 out of 16 is pretty good. So anyways, we're going to talk about the top placing lists in each one of these archetypes, but if you guys want to see any of the other ones, again, they are on my website here. We're going to start off with our first place list, which is this Bloomlord here, and this is Cristopher's first place Bloomlord here. Obviously, this deck was doing very well in the Ultimate Cup format, and I think part of that really, part of with Quartzmon being just such a good finisher for that. The difference between this format and that format is that, Hydro is at 1, as well, so that's something to kind of impact. And we also have hidden potential discovered, which will be at 0 the next Ultimate Cup too, so something to kind of keep in mind for that one. But it's still fantastic in a lot of ways. Quartzmon can stop a lot of decks in a lot of ways too. If they don't have the out for this, he can buy you another turn, and hidden potential into Quartzmon is just super free a lot of the time, and then just kind of everything. We know how this deck works. It's been around for quite a bit at this point, and it's still very strong. So congratulations to Cristopher for their first place with this one. We also have Kevin with their second place security control, and this is kind of an archetype that one couldn't see a lot of play in the Ultimate Cup format, just kind of with how security control likes to be multicolored a lot of times. And also chaos segregation at 1 was also kind of impactful for it, but we're out of it, and we do have like a couple of new techs for not only this deck but just kind of the meta in general. So important things first is just we have like this Wisemon, which BT12, but it has an on player when digivolving, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 purple or black Digimon card among them to your hand, and place the rest of the top or bottom of your deck in any order. So being able to use this to kind of set up the top cards of your life, and then you have something like Holy Wave or like Reinforcing Memory Boost or something like that, just to make sure you get what you wanted into your life. You can even like just Aandroidd to get there. We also have Shadow Seraphimon, which can be quite mean in a lot of ways, being able to just kind of stop your opponent from doing anything. And if you play this with like 5 security up, it just means like your opponent's going to have to get into this, and then you trade very, very well with this card too, which is cool. It does also have a blocker if you have Wisemon on top of it, which can digivolve on top. So both these cards, the Aandroidd and the Wisemon, can digivolve into Shadow Seraphimon, which is kind of neat. Those are Black WagreyX to assumedly just have the idea of this could be like a double blocker with the Wisemon underneath it. You can also get rid of Tamers with Black Source, so that's kind of a nice little pick there. And then like Machinedramon, which can be used to trash top 5 and get the mill for a win. We also have Death Xmon, which honestly this card's still really good in this format. I think the price has been going down a little bit, but this is just a really good card. There's so many decks I think that are playing Tamers, and it's very easily free in a lot of ways, so I think it's a solid card in a lot of ways. It technically can digivolve on top of all the level 6s in this deck, but I don't think that's a big thing. And then just kind of everything else we've been seeing. Some Mimis, we've seen some Karis, TKs as well, and then the TK Karis as well. And then also Digimon Emperor. So all turns, one of your level 5 or lower Digimon's deleted, you get to draw a card. Then also opponent's turn 1 on, their level 3 Digimons is moved to the breeding areas to the battle area, you get to gain 2 memory. So kind of just lets you be a little bit slower and also get some card advantage by, trading or getting some, deletion on your opponent's cards is very strong there too. So other than that, security control, you guys love it, hate it. You have opinions on it. Very easy for this to go into time, which is why we saw a lot of ties in this top 16, but very strong deck, and congratulations to Kevin for their second place finish there. Next up we have Alberto with their third place Hunter. I'm going to be honest, I don't have a lot to say more about this deck. I pretty much have put most combinations that we've seen topping in these deck builders already. It's very strong. There's not a lot of variants you get to go with this guy, unfortunately, just because of how the archetype kind of works. I didn't always play Quartzmon in my builds, but I've been sold that this is a good card in this deck. Even if you have to do some weird things to get to it, it's very strong. And of course, superior mode, still fantastic. Best removal in the game. Very, very good. So congratulations to Alberto for their finish there. Next up, we have Nicolas with their Beelzemon. And kind of like Hunters, I've been really talking about this deck for a long time. It is very good. There's some differences in this one that I've seen in a lot of ways. And I will say, like, BWGX only getting one finish in a top 16 like this is a little bit rare. It's usually like 2-3+ spots, so only having one is interesting. And this build is a little bit different than the usual ones I've been seeing, specifically having X Antibody, which is kind of a sometimes card, but you can get it back with the BAL-X, which is something. Also the Darkness Wave, which it's kind of a decision point for a lot of people if they want to run this card or not, but being able to just trash cards from them, from the top of your deck for one can open up a lot of possibilities for some things to happen. Also, only 2 of the Ayamako. This is like the lowest amount I've ever seen of this tamer in a deck, so that's kind of just something to talk about as well. But it's actually really surprising. I feel like this card like really carries and sets a lot of stuff up for the deck. So to only run 2 seems a little bit low, but everything else moderately what we see. Not a lot of level 6s too. Only seeing 2 of the EX4 EX2 ones, and then also just 2 of the Star Deck 14. Normally I see like somewhere between 5 and 6, especially since you get the trashing effects, but I digress there. So anyways, looks like this deck's more just kind of going up the chains as regular and finding some cuts for it, but very strong deck there. So anyways, congratulations to Nicolas. Next up we have Bastian with their 7th place Blue Flare. This is probably the most premier deck from EX4 in a lot of ways. It did get a lot of support, and I think it's really neat that a lot of people can choose what they like from this deck and choose what pieces they like and not like about it. So obviously the dual tamer, very strong in this deck in a lot of ways. Also being a blazing memory boost to get these is I think solid. We see like a split between the old and new Machinedramon. I think this card is actually really good for what it is. The being able to choose which cards you get from sources out, and just because sometimes like some source removal effects get blocked by like an X antibody, this can play around it, which is really cool. And then also just kind of doubling down on some of the source removal with the Sora Joe Tamer. Only running 5 of the Kuriha, which is a little bit less than I normally see. But I think like the Sora Joe does help a lot and kind of there are some decks that can't play around this as easy. And also just like 3 copies of Sorai. So this is kind of like a lot of source removal for the idea of that one, which I think is very strong too. So not much more to say. Congratulations to Bastian for their finish there. Next up we have Alejandro with their 8th place Ulforce. And this deck has been doing really good. I think it's been kind of creeping in popularity. It's hard to tell if that's just because the deck has been getting a little bit better every set, or just more people are on it. I know that arena prices are finally coming down a little bit for what it is. You do need to run for this for the deck, so it is kind of like the most expensive piece because it's a secret rare that's only good for pretty much this deck, but it is just kind of costly, unfortunately. But it is very strong. You do need it for playing this deck. But I do think it's interesting that both deck lists that did top were not running the WagreyX that we do get out of EX4. I really do like that card. I've been using it a lot. The fact that you can search it, it's a Veedramon, which is nice. The effect is great. You can push it up if you really want to, and it has the armor, so that's helpful. And you're already just running, at least in this build, all Vmon, so I think you're not like missing out on anything. But this one was using more of the Leomon package that we've seen before, which has been pretty good leading up to at least EX4. So I think it's strong, especially like in the Ultimate Cup format. Additionally, this is pretty much like an Ultimate Cup deck, which is interesting. We're not seeing like any of the Merciful mode, which I think that is a really good card. This deck gets completely countered by Quartz. Like all of your effects from your Digimon don't happen when Digivolving, but more of when unsuspending, which doesn't happen with Quartz 1-up. So like, Bloomlord, which won the event, is a really hard matchup, and then Hunters can do the same thing, especially since you have a bunch of tamers. They can just tuck your things underneath any of your tamers and get that advantage. But I do think the deck is strong, especially since we're kind of just missing out on like a blue deck that just, is an unsuspend rush deck, and this is still in a good spot there. So congratulations to Alejandro for their finish there. Next up, we have Max with their Black WagreyX kind of Gaiamon build. Now, I'm just probably calling this Gaiamon for the next little bit until, just because it's kind of like the new poster. Even though we're only running one of the new one, just the whole idea that we're running a couple copies of Black WagreyX, which is honestly really good right now. Like this card's about to be a year old, and it's still as relevant as ever. Being able to use it as tamer destruction, which is great, and like all the other destruction you can go for it. And then you can digivolve into a Guilemon or into Black WagreyX for cheaper, which is great. Also, the new Guilemon, being able to use this for just either some really hard removal or for just like to trash some security and then kind of go into this other Guilemon. I think that's a good kind of neat, nice little thing you can do with it. So otherwise, this is kind of like a more mid-range kind of build. Like you can go a little bit more control-y. You are running like the BT8 Metal Greymon, which is fantastic for more of a control side, and you can get to your Omnimon and also the Omnimon X, which you can do like a double wombo combo if you need to. Running a couple tamers, no Yuya in this build, which you can use but not in this one. One win rate 60% to get a kind of reduction up to there. A single Hades Force, X antibody, and 4 red men boost. So pretty standard. Obviously, there's just so many like cards in the Greymon line that you can kind of pick and choose the ones you like, and these are the ones that they like. So congratulations to Max there. We also want to talk about the WagreyX build. So this is Juan's build, and you're going to see obviously the low end for these decks are always going to look pretty similar, but the top end's kind of what's changing for this one, and this one is just almost truly just gas. You just want to be very aggressive with this one. We have like 3 copies of the WagreyMon, 2 of the WagreyX, and then like you'll see like honestly like not a lot of the top end. We do have like the Metal Greymon from BT12, and then also 2 versions of the X antibody. So you can use this one to go security attack +1. I am surprised, like for a deck that's supposed to be like a little bit more aggressive, they aren't running the security attack +1 Greymon. I think that would be something that's very strong for the deck. They are running the Hades Force though, so you do have that and a bunch of tamers on this one. But it's interesting for this one. I feel like this is a little bit in the middle of the road. I think I would kind of want it to be more aggressive with it, but it did well. So congratulations to Juan on this one. And to wrap it up, we have Diego with their 13th place Machinedramon. And Machinedramon was a deck that was really good in Ultimate Cup format, pretty obvious there. And this one's running like the full greed variant. This is almost an Ultimate Cup format deck. The only difference is the Metal Greymon, but they are running the Ragnalord for this one. So if you're able to just get and establish 2 lines, you pretty much just win the game if you play the Ragna. And most of my thoughts with this card is that it's a little bit of a win more. You are eventually going to win anyways, so you don't need this kind of extra bricky card, but it does get you out of some spots, and some decks are able to kind of get around it. I think you have to be careful that Hunters are more popular, I think, recently, especially since I think Hunters is better than BLZX inherently. It's been topping a little bit more from the events I've been looking at, kind of from the EX4 side. So you do have to be careful because that's like the best removal for your big Machinedramons. It's just stuck it underneath one of your analog man. So you can play this deck against the Hunters deck. You just have to be aware that you can't afford to play your Tamer. You can't afford to make another stack or anything. If you have simply your single stack, you're in a really good spot. Otherwise, it can get removed. So you do have to be careful about that. But I think this is still a good deck, and congratulations to Diego for their finish there. And that's going to be it for us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, this one is a little bit late from kind of how I got the results. I just didn't know they existed, and kind of the tournament existed because I was traveling when it happened. But we have them here. Make sure to check out the website. Again, thank you very much to Latin American Events for getting all these deck lists for us as well. And that's going to be it for me. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.